Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2024 edition of EDA Summit. It's super exciting to be with you again. I've done a couple of sessions in the previous EDA Summit series, and today I'm going to talk about how to become event-driven, the methodology, some experiences that we've gathered over time, and I'm going to take you through our experiences. Uh, I've been with Solace for 14 years. I'm Sumeet, based in Singapore, and I'm the Chief Technology and Solutions Officer here. So it was awesome to see you all here, and let's get going. So I actually did a session on a similar topic in the very first EDA Summit. So in 2021, as we started EDA Summit, we had a methodology back then, and I was just comparing. I looked at the recording from last time. It's on YouTube, and you'll see a lot of snippets that I'm going to use from other EDA Summit videos as well, screenshots. And we see that we've polished the methodology a little bit, we've optimized it, but it has stood the test of time. So not a lot of those steps have dramatically changed. We've modernized them, we've optimized them, but the methodology has served as well. Not a lot has changed there. I've lost a bunch of hair in the process, but everything else is similar. So let's walk through this updated and further optimized version of the methodology. So I'll take you through the steps, and from there, I'll go and explain each of the steps with a few examples. So to get onto an EDA journey, EDA is about a mindset, and the most important thing to get started is have that culture, awareness, and intent change so that we can take this journey and become event-driven, right? It's not just a technology. Technology, of course, is there. It's an important element, but the mindset and having an event-driven culture is the most important thing to succeed in this journey. So we stress a lot on that, and you'll see in slides as well as to how we go about it. Then we have to select projects. Like, okay, it's good you want to become event-driven, but how? Which projects? How do we select them? So it's an important step to take a pause and identify those real-time candidates and then find the pilot projects from those candidates. Once we know which projects, and step 1 and 2 don't take a lot of time, it's a couple of weeks, then we start laying the foundation. The foundation is, again, taking our mindset, event-driven mindset, and breaking it down into events and the mesh and the portal, which I'll all step through and explain. And also a new concept that we've started to introduce now is micro integrations. You would have heard it, or you will hear it in some of the other EDA Summit videos as well. But what's the foundation that allows you to become event-driven? Followed by the patterns, right? So, okay, we've got the technology, but how do we use the technology? What are the event-driven patterns, whether it's topic routing and publish subscribe, or eventual consistency, or waiter pattern, or event on-ramps and off-ramps? What patterns can be followed for this methodology and for success to happen? And then, of course, implementing those patterns, right? So taking that thought process, that paper exercise or design tool exercise into real implementation so that we can get a quick win. We can get a project in production, and then from there, learning, documenting the learnings, we scale. So that's in a nutshell what the methodology is. And now we'll step through each of these steps with a few examples. So talking about culture and awareness, now, it's important to build that trust, that momentum, that desire to become event-driven. Otherwise, it's just yet another project would be done differently, right? So what if you could connect everything in real time across multiple use cases in a modern way while transforming for better agility and lower cost? So that's why we would want to become event-driven. So you'll have a variety of technologies that need to be connected. The business and the technology drivers for becoming event-driven is to connect those things in real time. And once you connect one use case, then you go to the other and the third, and you get an enterprise-wide connectivity, a mesh-based connectivity, where applications can just tune in, tune out, whether it's system data, whether it's experience data, whether it's data for AI, you have data freely flowing, liberated in the organization. So important from a culture change perspective, and multiple stakeholders across all levels of an organization have to start thinking this way, right? So it's a mindset shift. And this is what Gartner has been talking about. Actually, the slide on the left is a few years old, where Gartner has been saying that to become event native, you need to change your mindset from being a custodian of data. That's what traditionally IT has been, because again, disks were the fastest, most efficient way to exchange data for the longest time, to becoming the IT nervous system, right? So where decision becomes a priority. So moving from state to a decision priority, moving data in a much more real-time manner. And what you see on the right, this is the capability map. So of course, it's a technical journey as well as it's a mindset journey. So all of those patterns you'll eventually get to learn, and probably already know those patterns, but to put them in the context of becoming event-driven. So that cultural change mindset is important. We need to think about our architecture differently. Again, it's a thought experiment that we find very, very valuable when we work with the enterprises in their journey in becoming event-driven. So what you can see here is businesses consist of events, right? All kinds of events, whether it's people-related events, so easy to understand, employee onboarded is an event, or payment-related events, what you see as the last one, payment initiated, supply chain events, connected factory events. If you look at any of these events, an order to cash event where an order is getting created, you'll see a pattern here that I'm going to talk about. And if you hear people in this journey these days, they talk about it, that every event is an occurrence. That occurrence can be described with a combination of a noun or a thing, plus a verb, the action for that thing, and some properties that describe that action or that noun. In other words, we like to joke about this now, that E is not equal to, or E is not just equal to MC square anymore, E equal to NVP, where if you see on your left, order created, noun, verb, and then you can describe which order. Payment initiated, noun, verb, and you can describe what this is all about. And this works at a global scale. Anything in the world, in fact, I sometimes do this thought experiment myself. I struggle to think of events that don't follow this convention. So if you find any, please put them in the comments. It'll be an interesting exercise. I think about this a lot, but yeah, it's always nouns plus verbs. And we like to put the words in past tense because an event has happened. So if we go with this cultural mindset, now I challenge you to take a look at every project that you've done or any project that you're now working on and see what are those nouns and verbs. Are there events in those projects? Could be any domain, it doesn't matter, right? And if you have those events in your projects and you think in business terms, not just technology terms, in business terms about these events, can you liberate them? Is there a mechanism for your systems, for your applications to publish events natively? Or can you have some sort of a connector or what we call micro integration to event enable those enterprises so that those events are liberated? So important term, liberate events. Again, we want to get used to this terminology because as that thought process changes, as the culture changes, the cadence of change starts to just amplify. So as we liberate, then we need to stream these, right? Data needs to flow and stream in a filtered manner. And we do this with a topic taxonomy that I'll talk about shortly. So as we filter and stream these events, we integrate it with systems on the right. So you can see the same event could go to multiple systems, different filtered copies could go to multiple systems. And finally, we democratize the access to these by having a catalog of all of these events. So these events can be discovered and they can be audited and they can be cataloged through an event portal. So A quick way to remember this is list and find, liberate, stream, and filter, integrate, and democratize. So in list and find these events, right? The next step from there is selecting those real-time candidates. So now we have the mindset, we've started to think in event-driven terms, what are the projects we can start with, right? And you can actually start with pretty much everything. Because if you go with the premise that events are everywhere, everything in the world is event-driven, there is no small project or there is no big project. It's just a mindset. And to make this point again, in the first EDA summit, I had actually done this little demo at home just to get the kids excited with computer science. So I like cricket, and we did this little application where when a 6 or a 4 is hit in the game of cricket, or if my team takes a wicket, my lamps should change color. That's an event, something happening. I started to listen to it, a little Node-RED application, publishing events to Solace, and that was the project. And it doesn't cost anybody anything. We just use the free edition of Solace, and anybody could do it. So this is Khajan Singh. He's a student. He did this project, I think when he was in grade 7 or grade 8. He presented it in the 2023 EDA Summit, where he's sensor enabled his doors and other stuff at home. Again, when that sensor ticks, that's an event. So when you get that mindset, you will not do your API polling or your batch updates for your current projects, but you'll find events as a much better way to move data in real time. So I heard this in a recent roundtable that we were running with we were talking about how to get started with event-driven, and what's the most important step to bring about a change. It is to get started, right? So you can start with any project, but having that mindset to get started with this approach is interesting. And then realistically, this is a presentation. This is a talk that was given by Eknath a couple of years ago, also in EDA Summit. By the way, all of these videos, historical videos, you can find the links on the EDA Summit website or on the YouTube channel, where Eknath talked about their premise at ANZ Bank for becoming event-driven. So you can see those 8 points. From my perspective, you can just look at it in a simple manner. Is there pain in a system? That means you'll do something about it. Do it in an event-driven manner. Do you have any in-flight projects? You could solve that problem in multiple ways. You can just be API first. You can approach it with a batch. You can have a hack, or you can approach that problem in an event-driven manner. Or are you innovating? And especially in today's era of AI, where a lot of people are very quickly innovating with AI, we've done a lot of work with agentic AI and retrieval augmented generation with events. But any other kind of innovation as well, give event-driven an opportunity. So there are plenty of opportunities to get started. There's no need to look for the perfect project. And as you've categorized, as you've listed these real-time candidates, how do we prioritize them? So we often do this exercise when we engage with our customers. We'll do an axis between impact and effort. We list those use cases, an example that you see there. We run these surveys and exercises where we can basically say that these are your real-time candidates, your projects that you may want to be event-driven with. What's the effort? What's the impact? And anything in the top right quadrant, which is low effort and high impact, would be a good place to get started. So with that, we get to step number 3 of our methodology, which is the foundation. So this is the technical work. So far, we've done the culture and awareness, and that culture and awareness could be multiple meetings with multiple people. Then we got a good audience into an exercise. We identified some real-time candidates. People were motivated. Lots of ideas came. We prioritized. And now we start to get technical. So what the foundation? What is the technology? What are the layers of the technology that are needed for us to become event-driven? Again, if you remember that the list and find, liberate, stream and filter, integrate, democratize, how do we actually put this into a technical foundation? So to liberate and to integrate, you can have systems which are natively event-driven. For example, SAP has the ability to natively publish events to SAP Advanced Event Mesh. Or you could have other technologies which are API-driven or even legacy batch-based. You may want to liberate data through connectors, or we call them micro-integrations, because they're a bit more than connectors. They also transform. They also have the ability to manipulate data a little and essentially enable older systems, legacy systems to become event-driven. So you liberate data as event streams from systems so that they can flow and you can then stream and filter them, which I'll touch upon. And then whoever needs that data just tunes in and connects to get that data integrated towards the target. So the stream and filtering happens on the event mesh. That's an important part, which I'll talk about next. But micro integrations, these are that's a concept, and these are implemented in multiple manners. You could do them in a low-code manner. So there are various iPaaS platforms. Each one of them is capable of doing this. Pick your favorite. I've listed a few there. You can have a pro-code mechanism to do this. So we at Solace follow frameworks. So you could do it with Spring. That's what we use. Or you could use Dapper. You could use Quarkus. Or you could also use SaaS services or function as a service abilities in various clouds. But it's the pattern where you liberate data into event streams. As you liberate your data, you get them into the mesh. You use a smart topic taxonomy so that E equal to NVP, noun verb properties that we talked about. That is what you see in action here. I won't go into the details of the mesh and the tuning in of these events. There are multiple other sessions and information there. But at a high level, you can see that inventory stocked for a particular SKU is published as an event. And we've got this retail store, which is only interested in the inventory updates for the store. So it's just looking for the store ID, and it's put wildcards for whether it was stocked or replenished or shipped, etc. So that's the concept of streaming in a filtered manner, where the mesh, which is your digital fabric, your nervous system, is capable of filtering. And then lastly, to democratize. So what's your governance plane? What's your discovery, your cataloging, your KPI plane for all of these events as they are flowing? That's the event portal that you see at the top. So you use the event portal as an event management capability to democratize your data, to make it available to whoever needs it. How do we implement these concepts? Let's say when we work with enterprises, we do sessions like event storming, where we'll get on a whiteboard, put some brown paper, have post-it notes, and think about our systems, break them into events and users, and write the systems down. And it's a fun exercise to just get the clarity of thought flowing. And then we also work to get those topic taxonomies, those nouns and verbs and properties, and we iterate over them. And through that, we get a good sample, which then we will model into tooling. I'll again take you back to EDA summits and several sessions from the past few years. So as you can see, from Standard Chartered Bank to Amadeus to Hong Kong Jockey Club to EDECA, and there's a ton more. I ran out of space to copy them. They're all talking about these foundations, the taxonomy, the mesh, the event management, or in portal terms. And you can see the screenshots from their sessions. I encourage you to go and check them out. There's lots of pearls of wisdom in many of these sessions. So moving on to our next step, step number 4. So we've set the foundation. Now it's time for patterns. What are our event-driven patterns? And again, I'm not going to cover the patterns, just want to give you a flavor that There are patterns that you need to care about, you need to understand. And this is not a comprehensive list. In fact, this is a very short list of some of the common patterns that you'll encounter in your journey of becoming event-driven. And again, we are glad to help in this discovery as you go in these exercises and engagements. So here's an example of one of our team members working with a Solace customer in the order management space, where you can see that there are some systems, there are nouns and verbs, the topics have been created at different stages of this. And then we also look at which part of this flow is synchronous, which part can be asynchronous, following a domain-driven event model, and then eventually using Event Portal as a tool to document it. So pay attention to patterns. Patterns eventually make best practices come alive in systems. And again, revisiting an EDA Summit presentation from last year. So that's my friend Balaji talking about Citi's journey of how they became event-driven for their corporate cards business, especially as virtual cards started to push the envelope in terms of volume, making microservices event-driven, having patterns like choreographers, and how do atomics come in, and how do technology services such as observability just participate in the mesh. And again, you can tune into this session as well from last year. You can also see the topic taxonomy at a high level. So those were the patterns that were being implemented. And how were they implemented? Again, I'll give you a higher level flavor, leveraging some of the sessions from last year as well. But implementing a quick win is critical, right? So we've done the exercise, but how do we demonstrate that event-driven can work for our organization? So to get through this journey, we take a 4 to 12 week MVP. It has to be scoped right. And we've done this many, many times. Customers have successfully implemented quick wins because that builds confidence. And that also builds learnings, right? So through those learnings of probably one flow demonstrated with some business value demonstrated as a part of it, foundational learnings will be discovered. Like, did the deployment work? Was the performance sufficient? What were the topics or the taxonomy that was created? Does it need to be tweaked? Were the events cataloged? Was the monitoring properly configured? Is the system meeting the availability and the security requirements? All of those things are covered in the quick win. So taking those patterns that we talked about, like you see the example here, the green path here is the synchronous flow, and the black path here is the asynchronous flow. So that post-it exercise that we did started to take the shape of microservices and micro integrations. And Event Portal was used as a tool where events and these microservices or micro integrations were created, code was generated, configuration was generated through the process, and you get from zero to production or near production. Many customers have done this. You can see here's an example from Unilever, where they, again, in the first EDA Summit, talked about how they started with a tech-driven implementation. And then once the business teams started to tune in, they started to dream up of a lot of these events and created a virtual ocean control tower that has saved them a lot of money. So very nice blogs on this topic as well. And similarly, there were sessions from Smart Dubai where they have this customer happiness meter, which was done in an event-driven manner. So that's a quick win project. Or with Mars and their supply chain initiatives, and you can see pretty sophisticated patterns there being implemented with micro integrations. They also use iPaaS and whatnot, right? So again, that's how you go about implementing. And then the final step of the methodology is to scale up. So how do we scale from here? We've covered the concept. Now it's again running through the same loop again and again, furthering our knowledge, but spreading awareness, having stakeholder engagement, having partner engagement, telling the people who are new to the concepts of how you went about this journey. We also have maturity surveys and advanced advisory services and assistance that we can help you with. I'll just quickly flash a timeline for that as an example. So if you want to do this over a 6 month project, so after you've done the quick win, you go and do the culture and awareness again, then you go into discovery, the next project, architecture design. So that's again, the timeline can shift based on the scope of our projects, but this is a high level roadmap of how we've done this. Our professional services team has done this with our customers, and we've got multiple packages that you can check out. Examples of scaling up, again, this is JDE. They are also EDA on the EDA Summit this year, and this is their MVP. They started with a proof of concept and modeled this in Event Portal. This is their order to cash journey. And lastly, we have Roche, who also talked about, and they've shared this actually multiple times in multiple EDA summits, where you can also see their journey maturing. So what have the differentiators of becoming event-driven been at Roche? This is Sebastian talking about those differentiators. And then here Sam, and previously Suresh has talked about it, but here Sam talks about how they've gone about and implemented even an integration marketplace and having events and APIs available as a product, having that mesh within the organization and making these events and APIs available for upstream applications. They've actually reduced time to therapy significantly by having this information available in much more real time. So that's basically the methodology. And I hope you took some value out of these examples, several examples that you can actually go back and take a look at. And I'd like to conclude with some final thoughts. So we've gone through the methodology. I think the future is restless. Now, different topic, didn't touch on this, but REST has brought us a lot of benefit as the technology of REST and HTTP has matured. Different applications, microservices talk to each other over REST. Channels or mobile applications front ends have almost always talked over REST. But what if we look beyond REST? What if we look at an IoT protocol like MQTT and see if we can have a conversational, a bidirectional, always on, always connected app or front end using this technology, using events straight from the app to the broker, straight from the app to the data center. We've seen organizations who've done this. There are some blogs that you can check out on the Solace website as well. But the level of responsiveness and the agility and ease of development is going to make it's going to become significantly better if we start to look at events right from the start of the journey from the front end, as an example. And also, as these events are flowing over the mesh is like a nervous system. Every brain needs a nervous system. Imagine if there was no nervous system in the human body, the brain would not be able to communicate with anything. So in this world of AI, as AI starts to become the artificial brain to help the human brain, what's the nervous system for the AI brain? That's the event mesh. So as you liberate more and more data, as you follow the scale of that methodology, more and more event streams are available to be integrated. They will also get integrated in that AI brain as one of the consumers of that event stream. And that is how a lot of real-time use cases are starting to get realized with agentic AI and RAGs. So with that, thanks a lot for your time. Get in touch. That's my email. Connect on LinkedIn and enjoy the rest of the summit.